In the time of King Arthur. Winter at the inn. Taliesin's ship is spotted by watchmen off the south coast of Britain, and bonfires race along the coast to guide the vessel to safe harbor. From there, Taliesin makes his way to the inn, as he has the gift of prophecy. Often he traveled far, for one who knows the local future need not stay around to see it happen. Many wondered when he would return, and had indeed almost given up since winter was very well upon them. Taliesin was, as you might remember, the king's poet. Arthur would sit for hours listening to Taliesin's poems, songs, and prophecies.
I have been to that place they call the tropics. Many strange sights I have seen. Perhaps you have dreamed of these sights as I saw them. Has Percival told you some of these tales that I sent to him in his dreams?
Taliesin, the residents cry, what is our fate, Britain's fate? Please tell us.
Well, at this time I can only speak in generalities, although one day I will tell Percival the riddle of his birth. And sometimes, you know, the knowledge of the future can destroy that future.
Tell us they cried.
Indeed, the Saxon advance will continue, but in a slow and piecemeal fashion. Devon will hold out for 20 years. Wales will never fall. However, most of the invaders will be absorbed into our land. Their sons will not be so violent as their ancestors. The land will again be won for a time, and a benevolent Irish Celtic king will rule for that peaceful time. Indeed, I see him now and 2 queens in this very room. As the land is now filled with widows, the new king will not risk any more wars, for this would destroy the last of us along with our heritage. But even the Saxon Empire will fall to the Normans in 500 years. However, in a way, Arthur's empire will last the longest of all, through the myths and legends of the centuries. For his was Britain's greatest time, and it will always be fondly remembered. For now, the Grail has relieved our suffering. Guinevere, you will be remembered as another Eve. Many will love you throughout the ages, and you will never die in legend. Indeed, you are Eve. Yes, Guinevere, you are good for the world, and Britain cannot long survive without you. You will marry once more, and so you will be called Queen again. I thank you for bringing wood from the Tree of Knowledge from the Garden of Eden. During my travels, I stood on that place they call the equator, with 1 foot in the south and 1 in the north. My ship seemed to carry me to places faster than the wind. I saw many wonders, lands where the salty sweat drained from one's body like rain to repay Mother Nature for her precious gift. And yes, Orion, with 3, not 2 hunting dogs, strides high overhead. And I have seen Canopus and the Southern Cross. Under these, the oceans can be likened unto a bath, they were so warm. But I must rest now, I bid you all a good night.
And with that, Taliesin's voice fades into the night, leaving us with tales of far-off lands and the warmth of distant seas.
Alexis was perplexed, and turned to Ghislaine, whom he had now discovered as a love interest. My Ghislaine, who is this Taliesin who comes to us from the edge of the earth in the midst of a winter's night? He who knows tomorrow as well as we know today and yesterday?
Alexis, my dear, Taliesin, like myself, was but a lad a few yesterdays ago in King Arthur's court. Already he was the poet laureate of the land. He has now returned to us as a grown man seasoned by the world's salty seas. He has the gift of telling a tale. His tales flowed at the round table like sparkling music while he plucked the strings of his harp. Each song astonished his listeners as he told of men's deeds to come or of rights long buried with old bones. It became a favored hour of the day when our King Arthur and his companions would sit and listen in wonder to the young bard's tales. As a child, he roamed the mountains and the dark forests of his home, as did you. He listened to the young streams and sat by the wild lakes hidden in high crags that slanted to the sea. The sea-blown winds wrapped him in their moaning voices. He understood the secret of a leaf a flower, a skylark in its truthful beauty. And he possessed a rare wisdom for one so young. He could sing of the future as well as the past. Growing to a young man, he heard travelers and countrymen tell of many strange lands. He listened to each story with a quiet yearning. Now he comes to tell us of strange lands to the south. Then, too, there seems to be things that he has not yet told us, but I feel that he will, in time.
Meanwhile, as stories were told, elegant butlers and cupbearers brought roasted venison, salmon, and wild boar, steaming plum pudding, pancakes, spiced ale, and ruby wine to the grand dinner feast. For Taliesin had returned, and this was the celebration of it. Guinevere awoke during the night, being very well rested during these long winter nights, and watched the frost ferns growing on the glass. Though it was 20 degrees below zero, she ventured outside, well bundled. She heard no birds call. There was no wind breezing through the trees. The stars stayed very firm and did not twinkle. These were the signs of the world of 20 below, of a world frozen solid, a world immobilized. Perceval embraced Guinevere from behind. She was not surprised, as they often looked together at the seldom observed winter sky of the night's end. Saturn and Jupiter were on the meridian and Mars was rising. My Perceval, soon, perhaps in early spring, Mars will overtake the two giants, and these three planets together are something that our world has never seen.
Then, too, said Percival, speedy Mercury and Venus will join them as they are wont to do several times in the year.
And the Earth?
Yes, also the Earth. This bodes of many weather calamities to come, including this, the harshest of our century's winters.
Percival, I know you well. You are about to ask me what brings me out into the night. Well, these days I awake early in the mornings, having slept quite enough. But there is another reason of which I'm not sure. I think it is to see my old friend, the winter sky, my prison friend. You see, during my years of banishment in the tower, I had only 2 small windows from which to see the world. One window for the rising stars and one for the setting stars. It was then, after many years, that I learned the stars of the night-winter sky. It's the kind of thing one seldom does unless forced to do so. And then you wonder why you never had the time before, for the night's wonder is ever about you. And now I again feel imprisoned in this inn, but just a little bit. Old memories, I guess, from the tower. Though now I am free, I must nevertheless often look to the bony back of the winter's night, that long, white, misty patch.
Guinevere, said Percival, you have overcome winter in the only way that one ever can, by submitting to it with grace and style. Would that I could have you as my queen.
You know that you do, Percival. We are one with nature now, as well as with each other. I know not why. Perhaps it is the blessings of the gods that we see up above. How nice of them to provide dotted pictures for us in the form of the sky's constellations. How clearly they can be seen now as the new crescent moon sets. There is the old moon in its arms, like our old life as it rests in the arms of our new one.
I shall indeed find rest and solace in your arms, said Percival, as you kiss my cold ears warm while the earth light falls on our shoulders. Indeed, if I were king, you would be my queen, and that you shall be when dead Orion is seen no more and the archer of the sky pursues the scorpion to his death to avenge the poisoning of that great hunter. For then it will be spring. That will be the time of our greatest glory, once Mars the warrior catches the 2 giants that we see above us. Our glory will carry us well through the time when Orion again rises in pursuit of the 7 sisters, the 7 daughters of Atlas.
The next day's lunch, following the poet's feast, was light but delicate. There was French onion soup full of stringy cheese, ham on rye, and a cucumber. It was the kind of lunch one could finish clean by dunking the rye crust in the remains of the soup. This night, delicate stars fell to the ground as snowflakes. and the day was filled with snow bows as the morning wind stirred up the stardust, old and new. Hibernation seemed to overtake all as the full dead winter snow moon brightened the frozen night.